Buenas noches and welcome to Kandit News. I'm Troy Torres reporting for today's events at the District Court of Guam, where the trial of United States of America versus Raymond Martinez and Martinez Moser continued today and will continue on. Trial was recessed after the jury went downstairs along with the public and the defendants and the lawyers, of course, to take a look at a, I can't remember what year it is, but a Sienna van, I believe borrowed from Atkins Kroll by the defense to show the jury the area where a drug-sniffing canine on June 4, 2015 was dispatched along with his handler. His name is Officer Daniel Ricci with the Redondo Beach Police Department. They were dispatched together to the traffic stop at the intersection of Pacific Coast Highway and Madison Street, where Torrance Police Department officers stopped Raymond Martinez and Martinez Moser on that day, and from there continued that's where the case of U.S. versus Raymond Martinez and Martinez Moser starts, because that is where the Torrance Police Department officers allege that methamphetamine within 2 buckets were found in the rear of the driver's side door. So basically behind the driver's side chair. So a Sienna van, if anyone's familiar with it, has for its rear doors, they don't go outward, they slide. They're sliding doors. The drug sniffing dog, his name is Blitz. He was taken around the van, and he both the windows of the passenger and the driver's doors were open during this traffic stop. He was taken from the back side of the van on the passenger side. He stops and he stands up and puts his head into the passenger side window. And then he gets back down. He goes around the vehicle. He gets toward the front. Then he comes to the driver's side window, and he gets up, sticks his head inside, starts sniffing. Then he goes back down. Officer Ricci, who now is retired and is living in Tennessee, along with his dog Blitz, said that Blitz, he is trained, and he has, as of 2015, he had 4 years straight training to understand that that helps us to understand that Blitz was a well-trained dog, and that his training is to accuracy in his alert of narcotic odor, and in this case, methamphetamine odor. So it was established by the court and given to the jury's evidence that Blitz is a highly trained, well-trained dog. So whatever Blitz alerts is going to be where there is a narcotic odor. So that was established, and his alert is to scratch. Different dogs, different canines have different types of alerts. For Blitz, it was, thank you very much, Bernie. For Blitz, it's a scratch, whatever the object is or whatever the place is where Blitz smells narcotic odor. So he did not scratch at either of the windows when he stood up and sniffed inside, but Officer Ricci said that was a change in behavior for Blitz to get off the ground, to stand up, and to sniff inside the windows. Changes in behavior, not alerts though. So when Blitz gets to the driver's side window, he becomes more, his behavior becomes more aggressive. He gets down and he starts to sniff along the driver's side rear, the back door, basically, the sliding door behind the driver's seat. And he sniffs along the seam, and he gets to the curve at the back of that sliding door, which is right adjacent to the rear wheel well of the van. And then he begins to scratch aggressively. So this is his alert. His alert starts. And his alert finishes when Blitz reaches underneath with his paws, which is about an 18-inch reach that he has. He begins to scratch aggressively at the undercarriage of the rear wheel well. And that's when a metal object falls to the ground. Okay, so I don't know whether... I'm sorry, let me start that sentence over again. I was distracted by a phone call that came in. Officer Ricci came from Tennessee to Guam to testify in today's trial. The district court, he was brought to Guam by the defense, meaning the side of the trial where Raymond Martinez and Juanita Moser paid for Officer Ricci to come and testify today. What ended up happening was the prosecution asked the judge whether Officer Ricci could testify for the prosecution, because we're not on the defense's side of the case yet. We were supposed to have finished the prosecution. Sorry, a call keeps coming. We were supposed to have finished the prosecution and then move on to the defense. But it's still the prosecution side, and the prosecution basically hijacked Officer Ricci to become their witness, and they refused to pay for those expenses. So those expenses now belong to Raymond Martinez and Juanita Moser, even though the prosecution made them his witness today. So he was under cross-examination by Mr. David Lujan, who is the counsel for Juanita Moser, and Mr. Peter Perez, who's counsel for Raymond Martinez. It was established that Blitz did not alert to anything inside of the van, where the Torrance police officers say that they found buckets of methamphetamine. The only thing he did alert to, based on his final alert, was the area where that GPS tracker was. It was a GPS tracker that fell from the van's undercarriage. And Officer Ricci also testified to them under cross-examination that he did not include that, among other things, that Blitz alerted to this GPS tracker and that this GPS tracker fell to the ground. As a matter of fact, he testified that he didn't put in any of his reports that there was even a GPS tracker. And he said that he felt that it was irrelevant to the case, which of course the jury will now take into consideration as they decide. So earlier today, this morning, Kandit News published a report on our Facebook page. It's, as a note, I think it's pinned to the top of the page, talking about the first count, or the first charge against the couple being conspiracy to import methamphetamine from California to Guam, and how last week Friday, huge discrepancies arose during the trial when it was shown that it was not the couple who first broached the idea of importing stuff, as they called it in the transcripts and in the video and audio tape recordings. It was actually Henry Alvendia, the government star witness, who led the entrapment of the couple. So there is now an entrapment defense to disprove guilt in the conspiracy charge. And now for the second and final charge of the indictment is the actual possession of methamphetamine. Now there are questions as to whether there was actually methamphetamine in the van. So that's what I have for you today, pending a written report that we'll write up and we'll get to you. But it's Halloween, so Kandit News wanted to ask all of you who are taking your kids or other people's kids trick-or-treating to, as much as possible, don't let your kids, well, first of all, don't let them out of your sight. Secondly, don't let them go anywhere with anyone you don't trust, and their kids. So speaking from experience, just don't let them go with just anybody. And I'm sure you all know that. Don't let them eat any candy, don't let them eat anything that they get until you're able to take a look at the wrappers and make sure that none of the wrappers have been tampered with. Throughout the United States, in Halloween, there have been many instances of kids getting sick or biting into sharp objects that really sick people tamper with, and as they're giving out these candies, they just, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they want to see kids suffer. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you just never know this day and age can happen. And so we wanted to make sure that we just got it out there to, help everyone to remember that there are sick people out there, and to have a safe Halloween and a fun night with the kids and a safe night. So just always be careful. So thank you. Reporting from Agania, I'm Troy Torres with Kandit News.